Hey everyone, welcome back to Great Northwest Weaponry. This is Thomas, and we got a really interesting piece today. This is a FN Model 1910, and before we get too far into the gun, some history. In June, I believe the 18th of 1914, in the town of Sarajevo, Bosnia, a 19-year-old Bosnian Serb nationalist by the name of Gavrilo Princip assassinated Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife of the Austro-Hungarian Empire with one of these. This is the event that sparked the First World War, arguably the single biggest event associated with an assassination in the history of the world. And without the First World War, there's no Second World War, so really, I can't think of any other event that even comes close. As such, you could argue that this is the most important handgun in the history of the world. This one is chambered in 32 ACP. They also make them in 380. And it is a 7-shot single stack magazine. It's a heel release like a lot of European guns of the time. It's a little tiny mag. I've only got one mag for this thing. It's a very interesting gun, very historic gun, and I've had this thing for a while, and it still never ceases to amaze me. It does jam every now and then, as you saw. That was just a matter of probably the recoil spring being a little weak, but it works. It is cool. It has the tiniest sights in the history of the world. We'll take a closer look at that when we get it on the table. And speaking of, let's go ahead and do that. Now that we're taking a closer look here, there's a lot of little details about this gun that are important. When dating one of these, really all I can say is good luck. There's a number of things. One, right off the bat, on the slide, you see this little swoop, this arc here. If that extends to about here, then the gun is 1913 or earlier. They manufactured these from about 1911 through, I believe, the 20s or 30s. They actually made them for quite a while, even though they had released the newer model 1922. But if that arch goes back past the frame of the gun, then it is a 1912 or 1913 dated gun. The very early models had some slight differences as well. Another thing that you can indicate through is the grips. Now these are horn grips. They stopped doing that in, if I'm not mistaken, 1915. Because between that and the fact that it can't be pre-14 because of the arch of the barrel, or of the slide rather, I've determined that this gun is probably 1914 or 15. It can't really be later than 1915 because everything does seem to be matched. There's another thing is the font. They use about 6 different fonts, and the spacing between the words can be different. All of these little details add up to determining what the date of the gun is. Between the font, the grips, and the slope of the slide, I believe that this is 1914 or 1915. As you look down here below the all the wording up here, these are all your proof marks. They're marked again on the barrel up here. Your serial number is just below that. This is a grip safety, much like a 1911. It's a fascinating little piece. Again, single stack, 7-shot magazine. Let's go ahead and shoot it some more. So you guys don't know this yet, but I am a collector specifically of vintage 32s. It's one of the, within the greater gun collection, one of the things I find most fascinating. I don't know why. It just kind of happened. I picked up a CZ Model 27, and it just kind of spiraled out of control from there. That's a gun that you'll be seeing in the not too distant future as well. There's a lot of guns that I have that you'll be seeing soon. A lot of them will be 32s, so don't be surprised when you start noticing about every third to fifth video is probably going to be a 32. So let's go ahead and shoot this guy again. And one thing too, on the back of the magazine there's a notch. If you slide the magazine in lightly, you'll notice it catches there. You kind of got to bonk it in a little bit. You just want to make sure that it gets past your release there. Actually, we're gonna go ahead and do the one-handed as they were trained to back then. All right, slide does not lock open on this. I'm not certain that it's supposed to. And you may have noticed that I did not do a disassembly, which I will usually be doing with any semi-automatic pistols or anything that I can really disassemble. This is your safety, by the way, is right here. There's a reason I did not do a disassembly on this, and that is because the bushing up here, if you look in close, you can see it looks like there's like a bar there and a bar there. This should be knurled all the way around the surface, or smooth even, but it shouldn't look like that. I believe the reason it looks like that is because the previous owner tried to pry it off with a vice grip. How you would actually do this is you would depress it and rotate it 90 degrees. I don't know if counterclockwise or clockwise. You'd have to check on that yourself. Then you pull the slide back and lock it on the second notch. There's 2 notches on the slide. You rotate the barrel until the lugs come free and you pull it out, and then you release and the slide should come right off. It's an easy disassembly, but not one that I'm capable of doing because of the previous owner. Thanks, you jerk. If any of you happens to have a lead on a 1910 bushing, I would definitely be interested to hear about it. I'm going to probably have to cut this one out, which is going to be a risky and nerve-wracking process, so I'll probably need a bushing and a mainspring. So, yeah, that'll be fun. That's a project for another day. It is a fascinating little pistol, guys. One of the many instances in history where the term "the shot heard around the world" has been applied to one of these for the assassination of the Archduke. And it is crazy to me to think that he was killed with one of these, considering it. Look at these teeny tiny little sights. It's not an easy gun to aim. It hits fairly accurately, it seems. Like I'm only about 12 to 15 yards from the target here, but that is about considered what would be firing range for a pistol at the time. Now you can push it back to more like 25, 30 yards. But we're talking about something from, the 19-teens. It's a very cool piece. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This has been Thomas with Great Northwest Weaponry, and I'll see you next time.